Welcome into another edition of the Die Hard Sports KC podcast here on the Thompson's Take Facebook page and YouTube channel. My name is Matt Thompson, checking in with you as always. And today we are here to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, who are back in the Super Bowl for a third straight year. Third straight year. Has any other team ever made it back for a chance at a three-peat? I don't believe so, but the Chiefs have, and they will try and accomplish that goal tomorrow. Joining me today, once again, Lucas Devine and Brad Beck, my good friends there, and a newcomer is joining us, a sports savant, a former Baker sports writer, award-winning college sports writer, my friend Chad Mullen. Gentlemen, welcome. What a time to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Let's get this thing started. We'll kick it off. What are you thinking about day before Super Bowl Sunday, just a little bit more than 24 hours away now? Your thoughts. We'll start with you, Mr. Devine.
Hi, I am so pumped. It gets to this time of year, I feel like it's kind of weird to think it gets to this time of year and you just have experience being a fan of a team that wins the Super Bowl. But I just get anxiety builds all week, and I'm just ready for the game. Yeah.
Right on. Brad, what do you think?
I'm almost the exact opposite. We've been here so much now, I feel comfortable. I'm not nervous at all. I think we bring home the three-peat.
Very good. I'm looking forward to it as well. Just on that note, and Chad, well, first, Chad, what do you think? Here we go.
I think I'm more on Lucas's side and just being incredibly nervous. Because, this is a chance to make actual history that no one's ever seen before in the NFL, at least. 3 straight titles in the Super Bowl era.
Yeah. I can see that, and I can appreciate that. I'd say we're a table divided. I'm not that I'm not a little bit apprehensive or anxious, but I find myself more excited, and I really think the Chiefs are going to find a way to get it done. But on that note, let's talk about this. Like Lucas was saying, the Chiefs have been in 7 straight AFC title games. This is their 5th Super Bowl in the Mahomes era. He's going for Super Bowl win number 4 tomorrow. He's only 29 years old. We've gotten used to the winning. I find myself just trying to not take it all for granted because I'm going to go ahead and jump in. You know we're all Royals fans as well here, minus Chad. Sorry, Chad. Chad's a Cardinals fan. But the majority of the table are big Royals fans, and we waited forever for the Royals to make it back. And what I realized is I tried at the time to really soak it all in and appreciate it. And I hope that someday down the line, I'm not looking back and saying, holy crap, the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl all the time, and I just became accustomed to it. And for me, I want to take it in. It's a huge time for the city in a world that is just, there's so much doubt in the world. There are different things. It's a tough time for the world, for our country, and not to get into that stuff, but sports can provide a lot of relief and entertainment and just bring people together. And so I'm trying to take all that in and take it in stride. But do you guys ever worry about that? Do you realize the magnitude of 3 straight Super Bowls? And if we win tomorrow, it's really up there with the 72 Dolphins type of deal. We're already a dynasty in my eyes. But anyway, your thoughts on as Chiefs fans, do you ever feel like you take it for granted?
I think the present, I don't think you ever try and take it for granted.
Sure.
But we talked about it in 2015 with the Royals, in 2014, it just goes by so fast. It feels like, can't believe it's been this many straight years in the AFC title game and Super Bowls and the chance at history. It's one of those things I think you look back on 20, 30 years from now, it's going to be like, wow, we lived in that era, that time period in Kansas City. So, yeah, I don't know if those moments you can actually grasp them in the moment.
Well, we waited so long, too, is the other part of this. Being a kid, we didn't go to the playoffs. I saw so many, sorry Chiefs, but so many just god-awful teams in my childhood. And then when we did make it to the playoffs, there's Peyton Manning and the Colts just ready to send us home packing. Especially that game where we barely snuck in. I think I was a freshman in high school, and Herm Edwards and the Chiefs we needed 5 things to happen just to go to Indianapolis. And we were going to go to Indianapolis, and Larry Johnson was going to run all over the Colts. False. Like my favorite story from that game, it was going so poorly. And my dad's, normally pretty mellow and easygoing guy. And Trent Green stepped on Brian Waters' foot, and he fell down, and someone else in the room goes, "Whoa, what happened?" Waters went down, and my dad just slams his drink down and goes, "Oh, Waters stepped on his foot. This game." But just so, not to get too into stupid stories, but we all dealt with so many years of losing, and then you get a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, and that's where I find myself just trying to take it in and appreciate it. So, any words on that, Brad or Chad? Chad and Brad.
I wanted to start something real quick.
Okay, Lucas, not Brad or Chad.
Sorry, it's on my mind.
Go for it, buddy.
Now that we're kind of talking about the Mahomes era, I want everyone's opinion on if there's a level of heightened a sense of urgency on this Super Bowl for Patrick Mahomes to make it 4-1 in Super Bowls versus 3-2.
Brad?
Yes. I feel like if he wants to be in that GOAT conversation with Tom Brady, he has to win the three-peat. Because he lost to Brady in the Super Bowl. So even if he gets 7, there's always going to be he lost to Brady in head-to-head. And I don't think he's going to win 8. I wish he would. That'd be awesome.
It's got to be a three-peat.
It's got to be a three-peat or 8.
That's fair.
And to go back to Matt's, growing up, watching so many, not bad, but sometimes kind of bad Chiefs football. I was kind of curious about it earlier in the week. I looked up, since I remember, I'm 38, so the earliest I remember is 91, 92. So before Mahomes, and what I remember, we were 4-14 in the playoffs.
Brutal.
Since Mahomes, 8 years, he is 17-3 in the playoffs. And we had 8 total playoff victories in our franchise history before Mahomes. He's doubled that. It's insane. Yeah. You can't take it for granted. You just have to realize you're witnessing greatness. But also don't forget that, 2012, we were terrible. We went through the struggles to get this. So
the best thing that came out of the Chiefs 2012 season was Eric Berry's fear of horses caught on video. I don't know if you've seen that, but look it up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
sure.
You need to go drive that the other way. I don't fool with no horses, boy. Okay, sorry. I'll refocus here. For the record, anyone who's listened before knows that I have ADHD and love to try and take this podcast off the rails, but I'm surrounded by 3 very intelligent sports fans, so we'll try and get through it and not mess around too much. So, okay, so talking about Mahomes and Lucas's question, does he have to win tomorrow? I hadn't thought too much about that, but I would agree with Brad that I think it's very difficult to make. It's going to be very tough, no matter how good he is, to win 8 Super Bowls. And then I also hadn't thought about, he did lose head-to-head to Tom Brady just a few years ago. So if he wants to be the GOAT, I think he probably needs to do that. Now, let me talk about Mahomes for a second and why I think, regardless of the wins and what he accomplishes in his career, what he's already accomplished at this point is so impressive. And he is in rare company, in my opinion, with some great athletes because of his ability to focus and in the biggest moments do exactly what he needs to do. You look at last week, going into that game or even the season, he hasn't had the best season in the world. Now, a lot of that can be attributed to early on crummy line play and him not having any time. And as the time got better and as his receiving core got back intact, he's been a lot better. Especially since D-Hop got here. I want to say he had 6 touchdowns to 7 or 8 interceptions early on in the year. Maybe not quite that exact stat, but it wasn't good. And then since DeAndre Hopkins arrived and the receiving core's come back, he is, 17 touchdowns to maybe 3 interceptions, or maybe even a little bit better than that. I need to check the stat on that. But you look at a guy who, no matter what the moment is, even I'll give as small an example as 4th down in a clutch situation. He seems to flip a switch and just become a beast no matter what. He knows, when the game is on the line, when the most pressure moments occur, Patrick Mahomes tends to step up and just be elite. You look at all the game-winning drives. I mean, everybody talking about the Chiefs got lucky this year. They won all these one-score games. Well, there's a reason why. he's clutch when he needs to be. And not only is he clutch in those regular season situations, he's incredibly clutch in the playoffs and has been throughout his entire career. So that's where he put himself without, say what you will about, winning the Super Bowls, winning 8 Super Bowls and eclipsing Brady and being the GOAT. For me, he's already put himself on a Mount Rushmore of just great athletes who are clutch. I look at the way he plays in the playoffs and the Super Bowl in clutch moments. He reminds me of he's Michael Jordan-esque. To step up, okay, I'm going to put the team on my back. It's not that we don't have a great team. I've got great complementary players. Jordan had Pippen and Dennis Rodman, for example. Mahomes has Kelsey and Chris Jones. But he's going to, in those moments, he's going to put the team on his back and find a way to win. And I think he does that. He's shown me, even this early in his career, at only 29, he does that better than most. And he's right up there with some of those greats like Jordan, or I think even Chris Broussard on First Things First throughout a Muhammad Ali comparison. So just a clutch athlete. And luckily for Chiefs fans, he's on our team. And I'm sure somewhere in Buffalo right now, somebody's really still sulking and wondering what would have been had the.
They got the MVP.
They did. Hey, and while we're on that topic, Josh Allen's a tremendous player, and if I was a Bills fan, I don't know how I would. Well, I'd feel depressed and frustrated and everything else because they've struggled. They've got a great team, and they just haven't been able to get past the Chiefs in the postseason. But I think Josh Allen is elite in his own right, hence the MVP. So anyway, let's get more into this season in particular. And I was talking about, the Chiefs have been in a lot of tight games. There's been a lot of talk of the Chiefs being a lucky team. Did they deserve to win all those games? And yeah, there were certainly some bounces and things that went the Chiefs' way. I'm thinking back to that Good Friday game against the Las Vegas Raiders, where things just fell to hell in a handbasket for the Raiders there, and the Chiefs end up winning. But the Chiefs were under a lot of pressure from the end of last year going into this year. Everybody talking about can they make the three-peat happen? And it hasn't been easy in terms of injuries. They lost some key players very early on. They lost Rashee Rice against the Chargers out in L.A., so he went down. Isaiah Pacheco broke his leg. And now we're going to talk about a signing that I never thought was going to happen. And thank God it has, because he has resurrected his career. He went from sitting on the couch to playing in a Super Bowl tomorrow. And the way he left Kansas City the first time around, I just didn't think that was going to happen. But Kareem Hunt, the Chiefs brought back Kareem Hunt, signed him. Chad, I'll start with you on this one. Your thoughts when they signed Kareem Hunt and how he's looked and what he's done for the Chiefs down the stretch here.
Yeah, I thought it was good just to have running back help when he got signed, just because Pacheco going out and P. Ryan is definitely not an every down back, and Carson Steele with his fumbling issues did not appear to be the main option either. Mm-hmm. So it's just nice to see him back, considering his personal struggles and all that, to be back on the team that started him. And I knew he was going to be a different player than he was his first tenure here in Kansas City, because he was so dynamic and explosive. I think he had 4 60-plus yard touchdowns in his first 3 games with the Chiefs.
Yeah, he's a big home run hitter early on. Yeah,
yeah, and he led the NFL in rushing his rookie year. I think he had 14 touchdowns in 11 games in 2018 before he was released. So I knew he wasn't going to bring necessarily that type of explosiveness, but to see what he's done with this offense, just being able to be reliable in those short down and distance situations. If you have a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 2 or even a 4th and 1, I have absolute faith that he's going to be able to get that first down, just because he churns his legs and does not stop moving, and he can carry 2 to 3 defenders with him at a time. I just think he's super valuable, especially going into the Super Bowl.
Right, might not be the same home run hitter on the long distance runs there, but certainly still has that physicality. He's not hurdling guys.
Yeah,
nowadays.
I think his longest run this season's 23 yards or something. So, yeah, he's definitely not breaking out those long distance runs, but he's certainly valuable and catching the ball out of the back.
To your point, I think this is the first time in years that I am as confident that they will pick up 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Without, I mean, the only play I feel confident in the past has been roll Mahomes out. Just he'll figure it out. But this is with Kareem Hunt, and a little bit of Pacheco last year. Like that was kind of the feeling you got, but it still didn't work every time. But man, Kareem Hunt just gets that 1 to 2 yards you need, and it's almost automatic.
Brad, any thoughts on Kareem?
Oh, he's a bulldozer. Like these guys said, there's no negative plays. Like he always churns, like you were saying, for positive yardage, and we need that because I love Pacheco, but I feel like there's so many times where he runs in the back of the offensive line and just goes down. That doesn't happen with Kareem Hunt.
Well, and I think, and I'm not, this is in no way a slight against Isaiah Pacheco because I think he'll bounce back and hopefully he can have a strong offseason, get all of his strength in his legs back and maybe a little bit of confidence back, but he just hasn't quite looked the same since returning from his injury. So I think, like we were saying, Kareem Hunt's definitely been clutch. Let's talk about another guy they brought in, a veteran, DeAndre Hopkins. Big target for Patrick Mahomes. Well, he hasn't been so much in the playoffs, but a veteran presence nonetheless. Great leadership for guys like Xavier Worthy, who's really come into his own, especially the second half of the season. And your thoughts on D-Hop getting a chance to play in the Super Bowl tomorrow and just the addition he's been not only on the field, but of course in the locker room for the younger guys.
Yeah, I feel like D-Hop was one of those signings, trades.
Was it a trade? It was a trade. I'm sorry. Excuse me. It was a trade. My bad.
It was a...
And there's
one of
incentive,
those-
too, if he made it to the Super Bowl, too. I
Right.
think there's some special incentive. Thank you for calling me. That's why I'm around sports savants, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Not a signing, trade.
But it goes
Go ahead.
along with some of these signings and trades that, we've done in the past, mid-season, or even the beginning of the season where it's like a veteran. And I feel like every time we've done it in the past, whether it be like LaShawn McCoy sticks out as one of them where I was just like, yes.
And Terrell Suggs.
Yeah.
These big ones that you're just like, man, I'm expecting. Terrell Suggs probably gave the most to the team from those signings. Hopkins had a few really good games in there. I just feel confident when he's out on the field that there's an opportunity. I'm shocked he's got less playing time. I would have to imagine. I think there's some sort of injury or something there, but it is fun to watch. It's fun to have him on the team, and I think him mentoring is probably the biggest part of it all. Xavier Worthy has done nothing but get better and better. And yeah, just that veteran presence. Him and Juju have just been two pretty key guys at the end of the season for making this offense more sustainable with deeper shots.
How about Juju in that Bills game? Huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He came out of nowhere. There he is.
Stud. All right. Now, internally, Brad, did you have anything you wanted to add on that? Sorry.
No, he covered it all.
Okay. Internally, the Chiefs have had to make some moves. We were talking about their offensive line, and things just weren't working out for the tackle position across the board. Juwan Taylor continues to have all of his false starts and issues. And Lucas, you made a joke when you first got here, and hopefully you're okay with me putting it out there, that the best thing that could have happened to Juwan Taylor is when Kingsley Suamataia and Wanye Morris both started really struggling because it took the pressure off of him on the other side because he wasn't playing well either. So the Chiefs, to their credit, have moved Joe Tooney out from guard out to tackle, and he has played exceptionally well. To Juwan Taylor's credit, knock on wood, the penalties have been minimized. I almost hesitate to say that because I really wish they would have signed Orlando Brown. But anyway, so once those things happened and the Chiefs brought in Hopkins and they brought in Hunt, the offense started to, not that they were perfect, but they were clicking enough to get some points on the board. They were still struggling. And then you get into the postseason against the Bills, and just like the Chiefs always do, I swear sometimes there's a switch that these guys can flip, and they just become clutch. Getting the ball. We would struggle to get touchdowns over field goals. Well, last week or 2 weeks ago in the AFC Championship, we were getting the ball in the end zone. It's great to see. And then another guy that everybody worries about, has he lost a step or two? No, Travis Kelce, he might not be the same player that he once was, but he is still clutch, still a great player, and still very productive. So I don't want to hear any more about Kelce going downhill and all this. Is it Taylor's fault? No, it's not Taylor's fault. It's called Father Time, and we're all undefeated by Father Time. All right, moving on. Let's start talking actually about the keys to victory for the Chiefs tomorrow. Lucas, your keys, biggest keys to victory, and I have a feeling that the name Saquon Barkley will very soon be coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, I'll give one or two that I think are most important. I think stopping the run makes the most sense. Saquon is their offense. And I think it's something that, man, we started out really well. And almost, I don't know, the Chiefs defense is, I wouldn't say super struggled with it in the playoffs, but there's been some hitters that have, whenever a big run breaks off, it just hurts. Mm-hmm. So you remember those the most, I feel like. So that'll be key. I'll give one more. I think it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins. I'll say it.
He's going to come out, be clutch.
He's going to be clutch. He has had so few snaps. So it's a little bit of a hot take that he is even going to get 20% of the snaps. But I think when you look at our offense, there has been those guys that kind of show up each game, whether it be Juju or Xavier Worthy, who's becoming more of a household name in our offense. So you wonder how much they're going to want to take that away. But, everything you hear about and you've seen with Vic Fangio has been the shell and the, keeping plays in front of him. And I think DeAndre Hopkins loves that. He should be able to make plays in those zones. So
It's good.
If I could add something, I think as far as DeAndre Hopkins' snap count in the playoffs, I think it has a lot to do with the personnel that Andy Reid wants out there. I think he honestly reserves a lot of the playbook for the playoffs because it kind of seems that way, just to have a whole regular season where you don't score more than 30 points. And then in the biggest moment, in the biggest game, we score 32 and had a chance to get to 40.
That first drive was...
I know,
best drive all year.
And even the second drive of the game where they fumbled that RPO attempt, we were chugging along,
right on the verge
ready
of
to score another touchdown. I think we very easily could have scored 40 that game.
Yeah.
But I think with the 2 weeks of practice, I feel like there's enough variety of options that they can send out personnel-wise to where everybody might get a piece of the pie.
Let me jump in here. Sorry, just a little side note, because you just said that 2 weeks of practice, and not that Nick Sirianni and the Eagles weren't awarded the same extra week of time, but Andy Reid coming off a quote unquote bye week has a stud record. Now, obviously, you throw in all the Super Bowl festivities, and some of that's hampered by all of that. He doesn't quite have the same time, and it's a different structure with it. But I love Andy Reid and his offensive mind having more time to put things together. And then to your point, Chad, which great point, that's why they pay the big bucks in Baldwin. It's that ability of Andy Reid to save things for the playoffs. He may see things down the stretch when we're all getting frustrated. He says, well, are we going to see Buffalo again? Likely, yeah. So let's save this one for the AFC Championship game, or let's save this for the playoffs when we need a huge play. When there's a fourth down on our side of the field and Matt Thompson sitting in Blue Springs on the edge of his seat thinking, are we sure we should be going for this? And then Mahomes rolls out and uses his legs, not just that play, but all game long. And the Chiefs find their way to 32 points. So excellent points there. And Brad, want to go to you as far as keys to victory and what you're looking for from the Chiefs tomorrow. And any hot takes at you.
Want to touch back your point, Chad, about saving plays for the playoffs that Andy likes to do. That game clinching play with P. Ryan, that was the first time we ran that play all season. It was not on tape for anybody to figure out. So he definitely does that for sure. But I think the biggest thing, it goes for every team, but don't kill ourselves. Nobody comes out and beats the Chiefs. When we lose, it's usually us beating ourselves. It's turnovers. It's not giving up a big play or something like that. It's just play the Chiefs football. Don't turn the ball over. No penalties. Everybody keeps harping on us for the penalty thing, but in the playoffs, we've been here. We don't make the same mistakes as teams. They're trying to beat the Chiefs. This is their biggest game. It's their Super Bowl. We've been here. I don't know. That's just what I think. Just don't beat ourselves.
It's a really good point. Yeah, if you don't, there's a lot to be said for not making stupid mistakes, penalties, and obviously, you can't afford to turn the ball over against the Eagles and Saquon Barkley because, here's a fun fact for everybody that everybody already knows. Allow me to state the obvious: teams that run the ball run the clock. Mm-hmm. Therefore, they can have long and sustained drives, much like that Houston did in the divisional round. They had the ball like the entire third quarter running the ball. So the Chiefs need to, obviously stopping Saquon Barkley is huge. Love the points about not making mistakes and Chad's point about personnel. And I think the Chiefs, in my opinion, find a way to get it done. It'll be tough. A lot of emotions are flowing. And Brad, you make the point about the Chiefs being here. And I want to touch on something that I heard. I don't know whether it was Mitch Holthus or maybe something from the franchise. I can't say for certain where it came from, but it was a great point that, with the Chiefs, all the success they've had, 7 straight AFC title games, their 3rd straight Super Bowl, guys have rings already, but they seem as motivated as they've ever been. Obviously the three-peat's a big deal, but Travis Kelce said, to piggyback, Mitch Holthus said the same thing, and then Travis Kelce followed it up with Kareem Hunt and DeAndre Hopkins, guys that are going to have their first chance at a Super Bowl victory. That's what motivates him. It gives him energy out there. He knows that they're veteran players who are going to be accountable and that they're going to come out and play hard, and that motivates him as their teammate to go out and do everything he can to not only get another ring for himself, but also for those guys. So, huge game, another Super Bowl. We'll all be on the edge of our seats tomorrow. I think it'll be a good game, and also want to transition just one more time. Before we do that, anybody have anything else to add?
I think as far as keys to victory, the one thing I was thinking of the most is Mahomes getting the ball out of his hands quickly. Mm-hmm. I think when you go back to Super Bowl 57, our last Super Bowl against the Eagles, that second half, he was just like getting the snap, getting the ball out of his hands. I think his average time to throw was 2.23 seconds in the second half. And we had 4 scoring drives.
I think he only missed one pass the whole half.
Exactly, yeah. And I think on top of that, I think using the RPO schemes, making those edge rushers, Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham, getting them to overcommit, trying to beat Jawan Taylor and Joe Tooney to the outside, and just using that to get, whether it's Pacheco or Hunt or even Mahomes himself, just hitting that gap and getting decent chunks of yardage. And I think getting them tired out as well. Like, just as important it is for the Eagles to have long, sustained drives. I think if the Chiefs can tire out that defensive line, I think we'll have a much easier time moving the ball down the field late in the game.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I've understated or we haven't touched on this as much as we should have, but Chad just brought it up. We're facing a defense tomorrow that is elite.
Number 1 in the NFL. Right?
Yeah, they are. And in multiple categories. But, yeah, they're the number 1 top-ranked defense in the NFL. So it'll be a test. But I love what you said about getting the ball out quick. Because, it's one thing to protect him. But if he drops back and just gets rid of the ball quickly, gets the ball out, that's when the Chiefs seem to have quite a bit of success. Lucas, you look like you want to say something.
I know we'll get to score predictions and stuff later. But for as elite as the Eagles' defense has been, I think I just have so much confidence with Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio. I just love the matchup. They have great players. Seth Kaiser brought up the stats of as great as this defensive line is. 2 years ago, it was better, numbers wise. So take that as you will. But the more and more, the closer we get, I just love the matchup. I'm starting to really think the Chiefs can, because Washington was moving the ball up and down the field. Did they fumble it 4 times? Yes.
That'll kill you every time. Yeah, you do that tomorrow, we won't be happy on Monday morning.
But they were moving the ball because it seems like a lot of teams can move the ball on this Eagles defense because that's just kind of Vic Fangio's thing. Don't let up the big play. And the Chiefs proved 2 weeks ago that they can just dink and dunk right up the field for 90 yards first drive of the game. The more we get closer to this game, the more confidence I have that the Chiefs have the ability and all the players and all the everything they need to move the ball in this defense.
Yeah, I'm much more worried about the Eagles' offense than I am the Eagles' defense. Even seeing, they had a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Zach Bond, who was doing everything out in the middle of the field for them at linebacker, and then 2 Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates in Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. And they just seem like budding superstars.
Love Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second, though. So how do the Chiefs counter against such a run-heavy yet potent offense? I mean, Hurts can still drop back and kill you, throw the ball. He's got great receivers as well. So I'm going to read a quote from Furious George Karlaftis. When the trenches play great, that gives our team the best chance to win. Finish, finish, finish. Furious George, 2025. So I think that's the best counter for the Chiefs is if they can be in the backfield and, obviously stop the run. But when Hurts does drop back, make it hurt. Go get the football. Play their own, play the Eagles' own game. Go get the ball. Force some fumbles. Let Nick Bolton have a repeat of what he did a few years ago and run one all the way back. So, yeah, sometimes I think with our offense and Mahomes, and I say this, I think our defense has gotten more credit in the last few years and they deserve it. But sometimes I think those guys like Karlaftis and Chris Jones are overlooked. Charles Omenihu has made an impact there as well. He's another guy that gets to play in a Super Bowl for the first time. So really, he was on the team last year, but tore his ACL against Baltimore, so that was heartbreaking. But he'll be able to play in the game tomorrow. So the Chiefs have so much talent on that defensive side of the ball, and I just wanted to highlight, as Chad was talking about, we're going up against an elite offense, so the defense is going to have a test, but hopefully they're up to it. And I worry a little bit about the Chiefs' youth in the secondary, not obviously Trent McDuffie, and I feel like the young corners have been okay. They've stepped up, but there's still plays down the field that bother me at times. Any thoughts on this point of the Chiefs' defense and what they need to do to stop that potent offense that, as Chad said, he's a little bit concerned about?
I think this game for the Chiefs defense and really the Chiefs in general gets won on, I said it earlier this week, but first down and even second down, but I feel like first down is going to be so important for the Chiefs defense. Mm-hmm. That was going back to that Houston game where I was at that game and I watched that long second half drive where it was just every first down was 5-6 yards every single time, and I think if you can win first down and second down, we'll see how they play that. If he gets 1 or 2 yards on first down, but I think that's going to be key to the defense and defensive line and the linebackers really playing well and not over pursuing, because Saquon can just hit one cut and just go. So yeah, that's my key on that one is first and second down are going to be just so huge. Force Jalen Hurts to pass, force the Eagles to have to stop George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, and Charles Omenihu when they know they can rush the passer.
Very good. Let's go now to resident season ticket holder, Brad Beck. Sorry, Chad. You can jump in right after, or if you want to
go. Sure. I just think when the Eagles are at their best, schematically, I feel like we're almost in no man's land. Just to have to keep enough people in the box to contain Saquon and the run game in general. And also, you got 2 superstar receivers on the outside that you can't really leave one-on-one because they'll burn you at least once or twice. Mm-hmm. And that's all it really takes to change a game entirely. And then if we do provide safety help on those two receivers, I think our biggest weakness throughout the season has been throws across the middle. We're
To tight ends in particular?
I think we've given up the most receptions to tight ends this season, the third most yards, and the fourth most touchdowns to tight ends this year. Dallas Goedert is obviously more than capable of taking advantage of those situations. I think in the playoffs he has 15 catches, 188 yards, and a touchdown, including 85 yards in this past game against the Commanders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the most frustrating thing when you're watching them. Just every other play is 10, 15 yards right in the middle of the field. Oh, God.
Yeah, when you're making Dalton Schultz look like a superstar, that's not necessarily a great sign.
No, not at all. No. And let's not forget, we're not playing Josh Allen with his to the left QB sneaks this time. Any third and short and fourth and short, they're going to do the tush push. And
So,
yeah.
Sidebar. Can we?
the fact that they, I mean, I'm glad they did that, but the fact that they didn't just go from shotgun and let him run around the other side.
Yeah.
You give him a head of steam.
Crazy. He does not get stopped if he runs from shotgun.
Or just give it. Cook was
Or Cook.
averaging 6.5 yards a carry.
Cook was a monster that game.
I mean, I love him for it. That's why I thought Sean McDermott's going to be. I just thought he might be on the hot seat after this year. I don't know. He won't be, and he'll probably, he'll come back and they're probably their offensive coordinator and everything. But I just the coaching is what is holding them back.
I really
coaching.
thought we were seeing the definition of insanity play out in real time. You see that quarterback sneak not work multiple times, and you're going to do it again on 4th and 1 on the biggest 4th and 1 of the game. It just didn't make sense to me.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. It seems like these teams just do this every year, and it's just so funny to watch because they outplay themselves in that aspect.
I hate the tush push in itself, but at least we were able to stop it. But I swear that play needs to be outlawed. I hate that play. I hate that play.
It'd be much harder to stop the Eagles. They're a little bit better.
You're just a tad. The team that coined it.
I think the one good thing about the tush push is that it inspired other teams to do it that don't do it nearly as well. So then we see it and we can stop it. But now we're against the team that can actually pull it off.
I got a hot take for you. The Chiefs will not run the tush push a single time.
I think that's
Well, they don't have Blake Bell, so.
Yeah, damn sure not with Mahomes back there. Oh, it's so exciting that we're right on the verge of another Super Bowl game, and let's get into the score predictions, I suppose, and any more hot takes. One more hot take since you brought up the hot take earlier, Lucas. Justin Watson makes a clutch play tomorrow.
I did hear someone make the case that this defense sets up for Justin Watson. Just those little 15, 20-yard over the top of the head of the cornerback play zone.
Beautiful. All day long.
Slamming the over. Justin Watson.
Right. Okay. Score takes. I guess we'll start Chad and we'll go around. And
I haven't actually thought about this yet, so...
Would you like more time?
No. I think it will be somewhat of a shootout. I think it'll probably be somewhere along the lines of 33-30 Chiefs, or 33-29, some weird score.
Actually, I thought I'd be alone, so that's good. Earlier in the week, I was thinking man, it's gonna be 24-21, and the more I listen to, the more I look at and watch, and the closer we get to the game. I think I settled on 38-34.
My exact score, too.
Yeah, it feels like that shootout. It feels like the game that, both defenses could they could play well and the other team gets stifled, but both offenses have had answers for these, whether it be the Bills, the Commanders, and it seems like both these teams have the answers. It's just a matter of these defensive coordinators. I think it'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah,
absolutely. 35-3 Chiefs.
Gotta have one.
Okay, Nick, right?
Yeah.
Gotta have one.
Let me drop a banner for you. Shout out to Nick Wright, the best sports He's such a homer on the national stage for the Chiefs, and I love it.
My dream scenario is 3 and out, 3 Saquon Barkley runs, 3 and out, first drive of the game. Oh.
I see, and I'd like to see. Yeah, I love when the Chiefs are able to defer. I think it's the smartest thing they can do. No matter how potent the Eagles' offense is, when you defer and you have a chance to go out, stop them, and then get the ball coming out. Hopefully you can flip it, get the ball at the end of the first half, and then get it coming right out, take the kick in the second half. I love that move, and that's an Andy Reid move, so hopefully he sticks with that trend.
Yeah, I remember Super Bowl 57. They kicked the field goal in the half the Eagles did to go up 24-14, but we took the ball to start the second half, went right down the field, and it became a completely different game.
It is a huge factor, which it feels like I actually care about the coin toss, and it's so weird.
Because you're betting on it?
Well, no, because I actually care who wins it. And it seems like, I don't know, it felt like last year we won every coin toss. It was like incredible how many, it felt like we won. I haven't looked at the numbers, but this year
we've been on a down stretch.
Well, yeah, we've hit a few in a row there where it was like, man, we actually I need that 2 possession swing in the middle of the game to feel good.
Touching on how teams tend to hurt themselves and like go into panic mode facing the Chiefs, I feel like a lot of the time when the opposing team wins a coin toss, they take the ball to start, like the 49ers did in the Super Bowl, and that is like practically the worst thing you could possibly do, and it happens all the
They're
time.
chasing points.
Yeah,
They want it. I'm sending a message.
The Bills did. The Bills cost themselves 3 points, and the game was decided by 3 points. They went for 2 for twice.
Oh, I couldn't
And missed
believe
it.
that.
And then that score differential made us go for 2, so we'd be up 7. That's 3 points.
Who caught
3
that
points
pass on that 2-point conversion, Brad?
Chiefs one?
Yeah.
Justin Watson.
Yeah, you're damn right. That's my guy tomorrow. All this talk about Saquon.
I heard there's a bet that's called the Octopus. Have you heard of that one?
no,
It's the same player scores the touchdown and the 2-point conversion.
Oh.
Justin Watson. Here we go.
Outstanding.
Make some money.
Okay, so we've covered score. We've talked quite a bit about the game, and anybody feel free to cut me off or if you have anything that comes to mind here. But I want to transition to no matter what happens tomorrow, let's look ahead to the Chiefs offseason. And the price of success oftentimes is that everybody's trying to imitate you, and they're going to come in and maybe try and poach some of your coaches, not just the high-dollar coaches, the big-name coaches, guys like Spagnuolo or Nagy, who's already left and come back, but you've got guys like position coaches that we might not know about, or even in the front office, the Titans already snatched up the Chiefs' assistant GM. So, with so much success, there is the risk that you run of guys moving up for themselves and going elsewhere for their careers, not only from a coach's and personnel standpoint, but from a player standpoint, although it's hard to leave a team that's been in the Super Bowl 3 times. But we do have some key free agents coming up that I wanted to get your thoughts on. So we'll start with 2 guys on the defensive side of the ball, both big performers. Nick Bolton out of Mizzou, and of course, Mr. Justin Reed, both going to be free agents. Or actually, I'll just read you guys the list of free agents here, and then maybe you can talk about who you'd like to keep, who you see maybe the Chiefs not being able to retain, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Yeah.
All righty. So, defensive side of the ball, Nick Bolton, Justin Reed, Derek Nottie, Charles Minihue, Tershawn Wharton. Did we say Pinnell? Mike Pinnell? Yeah. And then offensively, Trey Smith, big part of that line. You got Hollywood Brown and Hopkins. And I think that's Justin Watson, sorry. Yeah. Well, I'm just so depressed to see him leave.
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt also, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Trey Smith, I would love to have him back. There's no way we can afford him.
no.
And he deserves all that money that he's about to get.
He does.
Because him and Creed together, and Tooney, when he was that, interior line was just amazing. And he's going to be missed, but kudos to him because he's going to get that money. But
Well deserved.
since we are not going to spend that money on him, I'd like to see Bolton and Reed come back. They've been so big for our defense.
I see. The more I thought Bolton was definitely not going to come back at the beginning of the year, and the more you read about these coaches, and they just love him. It just feels like he's the one who comes back. I don't know if they bring back Justin Reed, just because it.
Well, they've kind of got a history there. I mean, they cut ties with Matthew to bring Reed in.
Yeah.
So
it kind of fits and maybe that's just the past, thinking about how that worked out last time. I'll be curious to see about that one. And then some of the other players that I want to see Hollywood Brown come back on a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that'll work out. I guess I think actually a lot of it depends on the Super Bowl game. I think if he goes off in the Super Bowl, he'll be able to sign something next year with another team.
Yeah, because at the moment I don't think he's warranted
Right.
getting big money on the free agent market.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate for him because that was supposed to be like a 4-week injury that turned into a season-long injury.
Mm-hmm.
Just like what Tyreek had back in 2019.
Yeah.
It was like that sternoclavicular joint separation.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there were just some complications. But, I mean, I love the idea of having Hollywood Brown once we signed him. Obviously, things didn't work out the way we would have hoped. But if we could have him back for a full run, I feel like that'd be big in terms of just getting our offense like back in a rhythm. Because it seems like we haven't had a rhythm in almost 3 years.
sorry, I got a little excited there.
No, you're good.
Let's not forget that Rashee Rice. Now we don't know what the suspension situation is going to be, but can you imagine Rice, Brown, Worthy, Justin Watson?
Scary.
So he's coming back. You guarantee that.
Yeah.
So,
He's coming back until he's at least 38 in 1-year deals. I also don't know. Like I'm curious what they do. I think they end up. Drafting a running back instead of signing Kareem.
Yeah.
So, and I would love to see Devin Neal, Kansas City Chief. But that's just a side point.
I'd love to see Turk Wharton back too.
I love
Missouri
I
is
love
deep.
Tershawn Wharton. Like just his underdog story alone, just being so undersized at defensive tackle. Like he has probably a similar type of quickness to Aaron Donald, but not nearly, the power of Aaron Donald. Just to be a Division II guy to come in. And he's honestly been pretty effective when he's out on the field consistently.
well, and off
I
the
just
field
love
too,
seeing
he
him.
saved a tragedy in Carolina. Anybody? He caught that kid from one of the stands.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, quickly we
yeah.
forget. That family's great. Anyway, so great player, though. I'd like to see Wharton come back. I think Brad's right, unfortunately. God, I really would love to see Trey Smith signed, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And, they already gave Creed Humphrey the money he deserves. You can't keep everybody, and that's credit to the Chiefs. They've been able to build through the draft, and I think somebody on the defensive side of the ball who we're going to hear his name a lot more going forward is Felix Nduke-Uzama. He's come out. He hasn't. I mean, you hear his name more and more down the stretch, and I think he's developing behind the scenes. I could be wrong on that, but I'm not going to be surprised.
He did have a sack in that divisional round game against Houston.
Yeah, he had a few tackles there, including that sack, and I think the Chiefs just have an ability to draft and develop, and if they can keep that, then
I mean, that's how you make 3-peat.
right. And with
it's
Mahomes and Reed at the helm, if they can continue to draft and develop, sorry, the rest of the world, but we're not going anywhere. So
Yeah, I think of it when I think of like off-season things. I think of like Madden, because I am terrible at re-signing players. I re-sign everybody, and I have no money for free agents, and that's kind of how I feel about it. But it is. I have 100% faith in the front office and Brett Veach. So whatever moves do happen, we'll see. But the draft has turned into one of my favorite times of the year. I used to not care about it at all. Yeah, whatever. But now it's like every time there's a draft, you're like, well, there could be 5, 6, 7 starters coming out of this draft. You never know.
well, and sorry, my brain is doing the ADHD thing again, where it's bouncing all around as we're getting ready to wrap this podcast up. But the other thing I'll tell people to be patient with is we drafted Eric Fisher. Was it 2013?
Yeah, number one
and he
overall.
took a while to develop into a really decent player. So let's not give up on guys like, Kingsley, I never can say his, Suamataia and Wanye Morris either. I think give them some time to continue to develop, and we'll see what happens there. It's a tough position.
Well, you never
regardless.
know. I mean, we still have Like, DJ Humphries was hurt of that long injury. Then he got hurt right when he got here. That could be another option. If they really believe in him, and it's something that they think is rather cheap at this point, you never know.
Fair. All righty. Well, one thing is for sure, it's going to be a great day tomorrow, and hopefully the Chiefs can win their third straight Super Bowl and make some history. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a blast to talk to all of you about the Chiefs and local sports, period. But, yeah, wonderful time talking to you. Go Chiefs. Anything anybody else has to add before we sign off of the Die Hard Sports KC podcast? They're on the Thompson's Take Facebook page and YouTube channel.
2 weeks. Spring training.
Let's go.
That's the best part about Super Bowl runs. You just have
There's no time
no
between.
let off in between football and baseball. It's just amazing.
Here we go.
Go Chiefs.
Yeah, and one more thing that I have to throw out there. What is Travis Kelce's favorite snack during and before a game? Trivia question for anybody. Uncrustable peanut butter and jelly. All right, signing off. Thompson's Take Die Hard Sports KC podcast. My name is Matt Thompson. Thanks to Brad Beck, Lucas Devine, and Baker's finest, Chad Mullen. See you next time, guys.